Welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. So please subscribe when you're finished listening. You can also go to snarkymoviereviews.com to read notes, bios, and other random movie thoughts. Today's movie is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, 1972. This movie is fourth in the original series, and by my rating is third out of the original 5. The mask quality continued to go down, and I expected to see apes with plastic Halloween masks with the white elastic strings in the back. This movie, in fact, had the lowest budget of any of the original 5. This movie played heavily on the civil rights struggle that was in full swing at the time of the movie. This movie has a strong anti-slavery message. It was also the most violent of the 5 movies, with about 59 people/apes being killed. Most of the exterior shots were done at the University of California, Irvine campus, and the futuristic buildings were only 6 years old at the time the movie was made. We have a lot of show veterans, so let's jump right in. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Roddy McDowall as Caesar, the child of Cornelius and Zira, called Milo in the previous movie. Buck Catterlane as Gorilla Frank, and Lou Wagner as a chimpanzee busboy were all discussed in episode 118, Planet of the Apes, 1968. Natalie Trundy played Chimp Lisa. Trundy was covered in episode 119, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970. Ricardo Montalban played Armando, the friendly circus owner from the previous movie. Montalban was covered in episode 50, Battleground, 1949. Severin Darden played the role of Culp, a kind of secret police chief. Darden was covered in episode 36, Back to School, 1986, where he was trying to teach apes in a lab to talk by having them watch television. Don Murray played Governor Breck, a somewhat fascist leader of the humans. Murray was born in 1929 in Hollywood. You can't get much closer than that. Murray did a lot of television, like The Outcast, 1968-69, Knots Landing, 1979-82, and recently in Twin Peaks, 2017. One of his earlier movies was Bus Stop, 1956, in which, as cowboy Bo Decker, he tried to convince Marilyn Monroe's lounge singer character to marry him. The next year he was in A Hat Full of Rain, 1957. In Advise and Consent, 1962, he played a conservative senator with a hidden homosexual past. This movie, directed by Otto Preminger, is highly recommended and has an all-star cast featuring Henry Fonda, Charles Lawton, and Walter Pidgeon. Of course, this great movie came out the same year as Conquest of Planet of the Apes, 1972. That same year, he was in a 2-part Disney movie special, Justin Morgan Had a Horse, 1972, about the development of the Morgan horse in America. His final notable movie was Endless Love, 1981. Murray is still alive and still working. Hari Rhodes played the role of McDonald, an African-American that worked for the government but didn't always support their methods. Rhodes was born in Cincinnati in 1932. He grew up in a rough neighborhood and hustled pool. At 15, he lied about his age and joined the Marine Corps. He served in the Korean conflict and later wrote a book about the experience. Rhodes received a BA from Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. He then traveled to LA, arriving with only $12 in his pocket. His first job was as a sweeper for $1 a day. Rhodes did quite a bit of television, and he was on the African adventure Daktari 1966-69. This show was very loosely modeled after the John Wayne film Hatari 1962. Rhodes is known for Shock Corridor 1963, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes 1972, and Coma 1978. He died in 1992 at the early age of 59. Gordon Jump had a very small role as an ape auctioneer. I only mention him because he played Arthur Big Guy Carlson on the hilariously funny WKRP in Cincinnati 1978-82, and the kind of funny the new WKRP in Cincinnati 1991-93. Dory.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
In 1991, in North America, club-wielding guards are escorting gorillas in red jumpsuits, chimpanzees in green jumpsuits, and orangutans in, of course, orange jumpsuits. The apes are being trained in the most inefficient manner in how to make beds, mop, sweep, and serve drinks. The music is very intense and is broken only by the sound of a helicopter, much like at the beginning of Escape from the Planet of the Apes 1971. Inside the helicopter is circus owner Armando, Ricardo Montalban, and horse-riding chimpanzee Caesar, Roddy McDowall, who of course is really the son of Zira and Cornelius. They have come to the city to distribute flyers for their circus. They must be doing well if they can rent a helicopter to hand out flyers. Armando goes through several layers of security with Caesar because the U.S. has become a neo-Nazi police state. Hard to imagine.
Circus ape, huh?
I'm the only one ever to have been trained as a bareback rider in the entire history of the circus. No.
Circuses are past history.
Not while I live and breathe.
All right, Senor Armando.
Go ahead.
When they go down the stairs, Caesar starts talking, and Armando explains the backstory.
Did I do all right?
Yes. But try to walk a little more like a primitive chimpanzee. Your arms should move up and down from the shoulder, like so.
They almost get caught talking. Couldn't all this have been worked out before they flew to the city? Is between guard stations really the best place to work out the plan? Armando and Caesar go to the plaza and they see Gestapo-style policemen enforcing ape rule violations for things like gathering. Back in the old days, slaves were not allowed to congregate except after church on Sunday. In New Orleans, the place where they could meet was called Congo Square. Today, it is a reminder of good music. Caesar is shocked by the menial tasks such as shining shoes that the apes are forced to perform, and by the brutality in which they are policed. Caesar asks how it happened as they pass by a dog and cat memorial statue. A female chimp is resting on a planter, and the police demand that she go. When she doesn't move fast enough, they hit her with an electric prod. Caesar says the apes have been turned into slaves and wants to know why they changed from pets to slaves. Armando goes to the dog and cat memorial statue, which is dated 1983. Armando explains that one of the astronauts brought a disease back from space that killed most of the dogs and cats. Zira mentioned this in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, 1971. Humans replaced their pets with small monkeys. When they discovered how easily they could be trained, they began getting larger animals.
Does he look like the kind of guy who'd put doo-doo in the capsule?
Until all of the captured apes were used and treated like slaves. A chimp named Lisa, Natalie Trundy, is picking up books for her master. Armando and Caesar go to the bookstore, and when the two chimps see each other, lightning flashes and they are in love, full-on Twitter-pated. When Armando and Caesar go to an outdoor restaurant, a gorilla, Frank, Buck Catterlane, gets snotty with Caesar. As Lisa is running errands, Caesar sees her a few more times. In another restaurant, they tip the apes with raisins. When flames flare up, the chimp busboy, Lou Wagner, runs away in fear. He is dragged back by his master. In another part of town, humans are protesting that they are losing their jobs to apes. A chimp named Aldo, not the Aldo referenced in the earlier movie as the leader, has to cross the picket line. When there is some shoving, the ape freaks out and the two regular cops with him start tugging and pulling. Two black-clad Gestapo police come in and start really brutalizing and beating the ape. Mr. McDonald, Harry Rhodes, who is an African-American and works for the governor, comes by and stops the beatings. The cops show some good old-fashioned racism.
Stop this at once, all of you!
Yes, sir, Mr. McDonald.
I saw what you were doing. Now sedate the animal and get him out of here.
Who the hell's that? Take it easy. That's McDonald, the governor's #1 assistant.
What's the matter with him? He love apes or something?
Don't it figure?
Caesar cannot contain himself any longer and shouts out, "Lousy human bastards!" The two cops run into the crowd and Armando says he was the one that yelled. As others start accusing Caesar, he manages to slip away in the confusion. Aldo wakes from his sedative long enough for Armando to escape as well. Of course, they beat Aldo. Armando and Caesar meet in a stairwell. Armando says he will go to the police and explain that he yelled. He tells Caesar that if he doesn't come back, he should hide among the arriving apes. Armando meets with Governor Breck, Don Murray. He says that he said, "Lousy, inhuman bastards."
Why would you say human? Human, that's a very odd thing for another human being to say.
I didn't say human, Mr. Governor. I said inhuman. Lousy, inhuman bastards.
However, they have records about the chimp born in the circus, and Governor Breck suspects that the child of Zira and Cornelius is alive. Governor Breck says ape disobedience is on the rise. McDowall contradicts him and references the chimp shot in the opening scene that was cut. They decide to keep Armando in custody. Caesar strips and joins 3 orangutans in a cage coming from Borneo. Of course, we all know that there are no chimps in Borneo. Caesar is processed by ape management. He sees all of the initial training. This includes fire desensitization, beatings, loud music, electroshock while a speaker shouts, "No!" and other general serving tasks. Caesar is given a banana and placed in a cage with other chimps. He shares his food and becomes the group leader. Culp, Severin Darton, comes to interrogate Armando. Caesar does very well at training. He helps the other apes pass their simple test. As a superior chimp, he is sent to the breeding annex to do his stuff. They really don't talk about this in the movie, but it also helps spread the talking gene. The female chimp at the breeding annex makes come hither eyes at Caesar, and he does. Caesar is sent to the ape auction. Governor Breck watches from above like a Roman emperor. Governor Breck buys Caesar for use in his command post.
Well, it seems the little fellow's not quite so bright after all.
No, but then brightness has never been encouraged among slaves.
Oh, don't be so touchy, Mr. McDonald. All of us were slaves once in one sense of the word or another.
Governor Breck lets Caesar pick his own name from a book. Because he can read, he picks his own name, Caesar.
Caesar. A king.
McDonald is very sympathetic to the ape slaves. Other apes begin to respond to Caesar as he passes. For some reason, Lisa is in the command post as well. Culp brings Armando in and says he is to be released. First they make him sign a sworn declaration. Then they lower the authenticator, which makes people tell the truth.
Yes, you're to be released. Inspector Hoskins and I have come to believe that your ape is not the child of the 2 talking chimpanzees.
Then I'm free to go.
Oh, as soon as you sign this sworn declaration. And now we'll check this with the authenticator, then you'll be free to go.
The authenticator.
Oh, it's just a formality. Sit back down, please. It'll just take a moment.
What does the authenticator do?
Makes people tell the truth. It's quite painless.
Rather than betray Caesar, Armando jumps out a window, killing himself. Governor Breck talks about Armando being killed and Caesar overhears. Caesar sees a circus flyer and cries for his old friend. However, he is done with humans. Caesar is seen all over town encouraging the apes into acts of civil disobedience. The busboy chimp is seen stealing a knife. Later, Caesar is seen in a basement where other apes bring in the weapons they have stolen. One ape brings in a small strainer and Caesar says okay. This movie was spoofed in Mad magazine, really 4 of the 5, and Caesar tells the apes, quote, "Of all the apes in the 4 movies so far, you are easily the stupidest. So if I'm going to lead you in a revolt against humans, you're going to have to follow my advice and not embarrass me. Like from now on, when you put on your shoes and socks, don't do it in that order." Since Caesar can write, the other apes bring in supply orders and he adds ammo, kerosene, and bullets that they can steal. Lisa is there and she looks sad as the war gets closer. The busboy chimp uses some of the kerosene to burn the restaurant where he works. He later got a job working with Henry Hill. Because of the rise in property damage, Governor Breck sends out the Achilles list of problematic apes.
Arrange for full distribution of the Achilles list immediately. Copies to each police precinct, including the perimeter ones. Details are to be left to the individual commanders, but I want every ape on that list rounded up and delivered to the reconditioning center by 0600 tomorrow morning.
I'm sorry, sir, the conditioning...
I'm sorry, 309. The cages are full. We cannot accommodate any new intakes until after Tuesday's auction.
Culp finds out that an extra chimp came in the Borneo shipment. Governor Breck is shocked that he had the chimp that he was looking for all the time. Culp asks for permission to torture Caesar until he talks so the case can be closed. When Governor Breck calls McDonald to have Caesar delivered, McDonald lies and helps Caesar get away. Caesar speaks to McDonald and even he is shocked.
I wish there was some way we could communicate so you'd understand that
I understand, Mr. McDonald. Yes, I'm the one they're looking for.
I never believed it. I thought you were a myth.
Well, I'm not.
Caesar tells McDonald that most humans are cruel and that the apes will have to force them to be kind. He says he will lead a revolution. As Culp and his guards come in to pick up Caesar, McDonald lets him go. Culp orders all unaccompanied apes to be rounded up. That night, Caesar gets caught and taken to Culp. They hook him to the electroshock machine and keep turning up the juice, trying to get him to talk. Breck and McDonald watch from above. Finally, Caesar chokes out, "Have pity." McDonald leaves the room and goes to the circuit breakers. Breck orders Culp to use the machine to kill Caesar. McDonald turns off the power and Caesar acts like he has been shocked and killed. Once the others leave, Caesar attacks and kills the torturer. Caesar returns to his hideout and begins the ape revolution. Large groups take to the streets with their weapons. The first target is ape management. They kill the humans and free the apes being held in the facility. Caesar uses voice commands on the intercom to create more confusion. Riot police are deployed and the apes face them in the street. Some police have assault weapons, but many are using only revolvers. The apes use fire and flanking to overpower the cops. Lisa hears Governor Breck give the shoot-to-kill order. Finally, the apes make it to the command post where Caesar used to work. The apes in the command post start acting up as well. Governor Breck can't believe they're using a welding torch to cut through the door. The apes inside corner the humans, and Governor Breck orders them shot down. The armed apes break through the door, killing or capturing everyone inside. Caesar personally stops some guerrillas from killing McDonald.
Caesar! Your servant. Your creature. Your animal. I saw you die. The king is dead. Long live the king!
The battle occupies about 25 minutes of the movie. The apes drag Governor Breck into the courtyard. They get ready to kill him as McDonald begs for the man's life to no avail.
Caesar, this is not how it was to be.
In your view or mine?
Violence prolongs hate, hate prolongs violence. By what right are you spilling blood?
By the slave's right to punish his persecutors.
Caesar, I, a descendant of slaves, am asking you to show humanity.
But I was not born human.
I know. The child of the evolved apes.
Whose children shall rule the earth.
For better or for worse?
Do you think it could be worse?
Do you think this riot will win freedom for all your kind? By tomorrow...
By tomorrow it will be too late. Why, a tiny, mindless insect like the Emperor Moth can communicate with another over a distance of 80 miles.
An Emperor ape might do slightly better?
Slightly?
Caesar in a rage states, "Where there is fire, there is smoke, and in that smoke, from this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall. The day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind. The day of the writing in the sky, when your city lies buried under radioactive rubble, when the sea is a dead sea, and the land is a wasteland out of which I will lead my people from their captivity. And we will build our own cities, in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends. And we shall found our own armies and our own religion and our own dynasty, and that day is upon us now." The guerrillas raise their rifle to kill Governor Breck. However, Chimp Lisa utters a guttural, "No!"
No!
This works on Caesar, and he orders the apes to lower their weapons before giving another speech as follows. But now we will put away our hatred. Now we will put down our weapons. We have passed through the night of the fires, and those who were our masters are now our servants. And we, who are not human, can afford to be humane. Destiny is the will of God, and if it is man's destiny to be dominated, it is God's will that he be dominated with compassion and understanding. So cast out your vengeance. Tonight, we have seen the birth of the planet of the apes. The movie ends with Caesar standing defiantly overlooking the apes as the city burns behind him. Notes: apparently there was one female orangutan in this movie, but still no female gorillas were seen. Sorry, boys. The jumpsuits worn by the apes were leftover from television's Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea 1964-68. The ape management insignias and monitors all came from the Time Tunnel 1966. Paul Dinn, the writer, envisioned this film as the apes' version of the civil rights movement. Not bad for an Englishman. At one point in the earlier films, they say knowledge of man was lost. Later, it was in the sacred scrolls. At another point, they say Aldo was the leader of the revolt, but the Aldo in this movie is not that ape. The original opening of an escaped ape being shot and found to have been beaten and whipped prior to his escape was cut as it was deemed too violent. However, while well received by more liberal audiences because of its pro-civil rights themes, many considered it too violent and too close to the riots that were happening in American cities. The final film of the series, Battle for the Planet of the Apes 1973, was toned down and the apes and humans lived communally. World-famous short summary: don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find connections to social media and email on my site at snarkymoviereviews.com. There are links in the podcast show notes as well. Remember, this show is completely free and independent. All that I ask is that you jump over to iTunes and give me a review. It really helps the show get found. Beware the Moors.